Hey everyone, so I want to talk about the top mistakes that beginners make when they enter into the aquarium slash fish tank hobby here. So the first one is going to be what I have here, which is a way overstocked tank. If you actually want to know why my tank is way overstocked with these guppies, check out my channel. I have a video explaining it. Yeah, so first thing is just adding way too many fish into an aquarium. Too small of an aquarium. So of course the problem with this is everything you add into your tank is going to produce waste, and when you way overstock the tank, it's just gonna be way too much waste. And over time, if you're not keeping up with water changes, and even sometimes if you are, it can just overdo the tank. Then you can have, of course, have fish start dying off, and you have crazy ammonia or nitrite spikes. Just bad things can happen when you overstock a tank. Again, if you want to know why I did mine, just check out my channel. Yeah, so people like to overstock tanks. Second thing that people like to do that is not a good thing to do, and I'm seeing more and more of this online and people making comments, is actually this is usually more for betas and not other fish, but is removing the beta or fish from their actual aquarium, moving them into a small little holding tank while they do a water change on their tank. If your tank is appropriately sized, 2.5 gallons or bigger for beta, there is no reason to take out your beta and move them into another tank while you do a water change. All you're doing is adding more work for yourself, and the biggest thing is that you're adding a whole bunch of stress to your beta. That's not good, of course. Stress can actually kill fish pretty easily. So every time you remove your beta or fish from its actual aquarium to do a water change, you're adding unnecessary stress to your fish, which again could lead to actual death, or they could just start lying around all the time. It's just gonna happen. Have bad things happen if you are removing your fish all the time to do water changes. Just leave your fish in the tank while you do the water change. It's not gonna hurt them. In my experience, all of my betas I've had in the past actually kind of like check out my hand and check out the water siphon when you're doing a water change. They're usually not even bothered by water changes happening in their tank, but they are bothered by a net chasing after them and scooping them up and putting them into another tank. And then same thing back into their actual tank. So again, you're saying way too much stress when you remove a fish from their aquarium to do a water change. Third thing is not cycling a tank before adding in fish. Depending on the type of cycle you do, it can take a month or even longer, depending on the size of the tank. Or it can take nowhere near as long if you guys add in a biological booster, such as Tetra's Safe Start biological booster, which almost instantly, quote unquote, instantly cycles your tank. So you want to make sure that you guys cycle your tank. If you don't know what I mean by cycle, go ahead and do a Google search, or again, you can check out my channel. A year or two ago, I made videos on all the different types of cycling. Yeah, so make sure you guys cycle your tanks before adding in fish. Or if you use the biological booster, read the instructions and do what it says. And number 4 is not treating your water. So that is using tap water and not using a water treatment chemical product. So just using straight up tap water is very bad. There's a lot of bad stuff in straight up tap water, and this can of course kill your fish. There's heavy metals in there. There can be chlorine in there. Some even have ammonia. So you really want to do some sort of water treatment. I recommend using Prime. This is the best from Seacham. Don't know how to say their actual brand name. Seacham, we'll go with that. This is the best water conditioner you can buy. It's super highly concentrated, and it does a fantastic job. But there's many other types of water treatment out there as well. Just find whichever one works best for you. You might not be able to find Prime everywhere you go. I don't believe like Walmart sells it. I think Petco and PetSmart do sell it though. So otherwise, the local pet store probably has it. That's where I get mine from. Yeah, so make sure you treat your water before adding it to your tank. So otherwise, again, you can end up killing your fish. And number 5 is overfeeding your fish. This again is bad because it of course leads to a bunch of unnecessary waste. Fish have very tiny stomachs. They say that their stomach is about the size of their eye, so it is very small. They really do not need a whole bunch of food. So just make sure you're not overfeeding your fish, especially if you have a kid or if a kid is feeding the fish. They especially seem to like to overfeed fish, and fish will pretty much keep on looking like they're hungry, even if they are not. They'll keep on eating and eating and eating, even when they don't have to eat anymore. So again, overfeeding your fish is bad. And two, of course, the more the fish eats, the more the fish poops, and the more poop they produce, the more waste there is in their tank, along with the uneaten food from the overfeeding. So again, it's just all around bad thing to overfeed your fish. And again, a fish can go. They say if a healthy fish can go about 2 weeks, sometimes even longer, without eating whatsoever. So it's it's worse to overfeed your fish than it is to underfeed your fish. As long as you're feeding your fish something, and the food you're feeding is a healthy food, a nutritious food form. But what I mean by that is stay away from fish flakes. They are just not as good as the pellets are. And these days you can get super tiny micro pellets. They even have baby pellets, baby fish food pellets that I actually use with all my fish anyway because how small they are. Pellets are just so much better, so much more nutritious than flakes are. And then last but not least is number 6 here, and that is using too small of a tank for your fish. So the biggest fish that have this happen to them are betas and goldfish. Betas should not be in a tiny bowl, neither should goldfish. For some reason, over the years, that has been a thing that a beta can live in a tiny bowl, or a goldfish can live in a quote-unquote goldfish bowl. Those are just very bad things. A beta should have at least a 2.5 gallon tank. Even bigger is better. I'd even recommend like a 5. A 5 is like a perfect size tank, or a 10 is also a perfect size tank for a beta. And then goldfish, I don't know how this ever started, but goldfish get big. Most goldfish get big. I mean, they should get bigger than most goldfish bowls are. I mean, some goldfish can get a foot long or bigger, especially if you have like a koi. They can get huge. They should not be put into bowls either. They recommend for goldfish a 20-gallon tank for just one, and then add on another 10 gallons per additional goldfish. So if you have one goldfish, you have a 20-gallon tank. You have 2 goldfish, you have a 30-gallon tank. 3 goldfish, you have a 40-gallon tank, so on and so forth. Goldfish are also very extremely messy fish. They produce a lot of waste. Again, waste is not a good thing to have in your tank, and it's just they get way too big and they produce way too much waste to be in a small tank. So you need to have a good sized tank with a good strong filter on them to help keep them nice and healthy. So again, just having the correct appropriate sized tank for your fish is very important, and it is something, again, especially on betas and goldfish, that beginners make the mistake of doing, of just bringing them into too small of a tank. Alright guys, so that is 6 things that beginners make mistakes on when starting into the hobby. And actually some people that have been in the hobby for years do the same thing as well, make the same mistakes. So if you guys have any other additional mistakes, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of my 6 items on this list. And let me know what you think of my crazy overpopulated guppy tank here. Almost called them a goldfish. Guppy tank here. They are very actually fun to watch. Oh yeah, so let me know what you guys think. And as always, thank you all very much for watching. As always, I do appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next vid. Have yourselves a good one. Goodbye.